Boston with a degree in costume design and a specialty in wigs and makeup. And I received several awards for these things from the Kennedy Center and the Paper Playhouse. Next slide, please. So, when you're planning something, whether it be a headpiece, a prop, a costume accessory, generally what you want to do is start with a sketch and some research images. This will give you a good idea of options that you have for turning something that is ideally created for something two-dimensional, for something into reality that will have to go on your body. The research images that I'm using here as examples were for the headpiece you saw in the opening slide, which was actually started out as Titania from A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I used for Halloween one year. And I was able to translate that into an Amano concept art idea for an Amano fairy. That's why you see the same kind of images, but really they're relatable for several things. Next slide, please. So, when you start a project, ideally what you want to do is know what kind of materials you're going to be using. And for beginning milliners especially, it's a good idea to use things that are easily accessible from craft stores, hardware stores, floral supply shops. The headpiece that I created was made using a foam ring from a floral supply shop, as well as dried flowers and accessories, dried leaves and twigs, felt, and chopsticks. Really basic things, but I ended up with something that everyone believes is a mixture of hair and the wilderness. So my point is, you can make something amazing out of very simple things. Not always cheap, but the more crafty you are, the cheaper you can be and the better it will look. When building your headpiece, something you want to do obviously is keep your costume in mind. But beyond just matching colors and trims when you go to accessorize, you want to think about how big it's going to be. How much further out than your body will it extend? As far as your safety and other people's safety, you want to consider the weight, the danger factors, how pointy is it, you want to consider the height and the balance issues, and then additionally make sure you have a way to secure it to your head, and I'll get more into how to do that when we talk about wig prep. But basically, these are your tools. Long pins, which are specifically meant for wig application, they're U-shaped. They don't secure to themselves on their own like normal bobby pins. The point is that they're sort of like anchors, and the longer they are, the more secure they are, because the further into your head and your prep they can go. As well as normal no-slip grip little barrettes like these. I prefer that particular kind because they're very flat. There's no spring mechanism in them like a normal barrette, therefore if pressure goes on top of them, they won't open up on you after you've prepped them. Another thing you want to consider is once you have these elaborate headpieces or things on you, you can't see what they're doing anymore. So, as well as knowing balance and height issues, you want to know how will you best capture this in a picture, whether your friends are taking it, whether it's in a photo shoot. If you're working with a photographer who's not a close friend, who doesn't know ahead of time, let them know the angles that you want captured, the amount of detail you want, how much in relation to your costume you'd like it to be. For example, in these pictures, the center one and the one on the right especially, I was asked to sort of look up at the photographer. And this headpiece was pretty weighty, and these were very painful poses to hold, but they are some of the best pictures of the entire shoot that I got, so I'm very glad that I went along with the direction from the photographer. It's better, though, of course, to know yourself how your headpiece will relate to you and how comfortable you are with it. That way you can look at certain poses ahead of time and not have to take everything on the fly. Next, let's talk about styling your wig, and I'm using my Ichiban wig that I have on today as an example. So again, when you're taking something that was made for a fantasy world, the illustrator can do whatever they want with the hair, the costume, things that maybe they can't do in real life. So your best option when translating something like this is to look for research images, not necessarily a sketch like you would with a headpiece, because this is something that you're not building from scratch. You're beginning with something you probably buy in a store, unless you're pretty advanced. I'm not going to assume that of this group, and you're actually building the wig hair by hair. So when you start with wigs, you want to consider the shape and the texture. Take as many research images of the character that you're trying to emulate, so that you know in the color scheme of that world. If you have costume swatches already, bring those with you. That was really helpful for me when matching the color of my wig to the costume which I made. So research images are a great way to go, because you get an idea of something that was achievable in real life and know that you can also make it happen for your wig. Understanding your wig's properties. Finding out what your wig is made of is the first major step to knowing what you can do with it and how. Most wigs that you're going to find, especially for anime, for the colors and the styles you're going to use, they're probably going to be synthetic, which is also a lot more affordable than human. So focusing on that Assumption. Synthetic hair is a fibroplastic and it can only be styled with really light doses of heat. Never, ever use a normal hair tool on a synthetic wig. It will literally melt it. The only exception to that, ignore that part of the picture, is a blow dryer. If you use it on a really low setting, far enough away from the hair, it can help to absorb some of the moisture without damaging the fibers. Otherwise, the ways you can set a synthetic wig, use a wet set, meaning literally just spray with water, not dunk the head in water, but ideally a spray bottle, brush it out, and you can set that again with mesh rollers, which I'll get into. What will happen with a normal wet set instead of a steam set, it'll be a lot gentler, it won't last as long, and it'll take a lot longer to dry. But if you don't have the tools that I'll go into for that, or you're strapped for cash, you can do a wet set. You just need to allow enough time for it to take that shape and dry. Next. So your tools for wig styling. Mesh rollers. They are one of the best things in your arsenal. They ventilate really easily, so you can get steam to go through them, which will mean the set takes better. They dry faster because air can get through them. And they come in a bunch of styles and shapes. They're stringy, they're easily travelable, they're very cheap. And they allow for, like I said, faster drying time and a better set. Electric rollers are a good option. Again, if it's something you already own and you're trying to save money. They are usually felt around the center. And what they do is, when you cut them in a wig, they're a gentle heat, which is why it's okay for them to be in close contact with the hair. They will take a while to heat up to their maximum strength, and while they're in the wig, there's a longer time for them to sort of distribute that heat to the fibers. So it'll be a gentle set, but it'll take better than a wet set. And you, again, need to allow extra time for them to cool down. But there's no drying time involved, so you have that option for a nice gentle set. End papers. Your best friend if you're using short hair wigs or any wig with a bang that you need to set. Ideally, what they do is keep all the hairs together, so when you do your set, none of them kind of escape the roller, pop out at a funny angle. They basically make everything look really clean, and the way you use them is they're thin little, almost see-through sheets of paper that you fold in half over like a 2-inch section of hair, slide down to the bottom, and then just do your normal set with the roller underneath, but they'll hold all the hairs together very nicely. T-pins are what you will use to secure mesh rollers to the wig head. And an example over here. They come in a lot of different lengths. The longer the T-pin, the better, because you can go through any size roller and always make sure that they're going to have contact with the wig head. The shorter your T-pin, the more creative you have to get with how you're going to secure those rollers. So something about 2 to 3 inches would be ideal. And basically, you know, with a roller this small, you can go all the way through. Any other roller, even a medium-sized one, you often want to pin inside, and you'd use 2 of these, one on each end. And get them as close to the head as possible. That way everything stays where it should, nothing's falling out, nothing's overlapping onto your lower sets. 2 is the ideal number to have on all of these. So I mentioned before steamers for a steam set. These are going to give you the crispest style for your wig. They do take a while to dry as well, but less time than a wet set, because you should only be about 1 inch from the hair or so to ½ an inch. Never get right up on top of a wig. You won't melt it, but what will happen is just you'll make it wetter, takes a longer time for it to dry, and it's the same then as if you were going to do a wet set, so it defeats the purpose. In costume shop, where I started out doing most of my wig styling, you have garment steamers, which is the really tall one. There's nothing wrong with them, except that they're bulkier. They take a little effort to sort of move around your wig. The good news is that they're